Moving on, let's go to our number 28 team. A lot of people are going to be unhappy about this, especially in a certain area where our friend Abe is from. And not really himself, but that area. Caleb, who do you got at 28?
The Knicks. And can they really blame us? Can they blame us? I will give them credit. They didn't really spend money in a dumb way this offseason. Like, I think Burks and Noel are on 1-year deals, and I think Austin Rivers is on a 2-year deal that's relatively cheap. So they didn't waste money anywhere. I don't know. The draft was kind of it was iffy, their Obi Toppin pick, but I like Emmanuel Quickly. I feel like that's a good value pick, but I don't know. They have a hole at small forward. I'd assume Obi starts there, but he's not really a small forward. So I don't know what they do. They still have Julius Randle and Mitchell Robinson. So up to them. I don't know. I would try to get rid of Julius Randle this season.
I'm surprised Julius Randle's still on that roster, given the fact that they have, 100 freaking power forwards on that roster.
Yeah.
And Julius Randle's good, but to me, it's kind of like, what Julius Randle's peak is. Like, we've seen what he's going to give you. You know what you're going to get from every night. I think he's a good team on a contender, but I don't see Julius Randle as your starting power forward on a playoff team. That's me personally. Unless you have the right pieces around him.
Yeah, and they do not have the right pieces around him. They're still starting Elfrid Payton at point guard.
Elfrid Payton, RJ Barrett, Obi Toppin's probably going to be that starting small forward, I would guess. Julius Randle, Mitchell Robinson. That's most likely their starting five. Not a bad starting five, I would say. I mean, RJ, Mitchell Robinson, Obi really stand out to me. They got to do something with that point guard position. I saw Frank Ntilikina talk about his competition. I mean, it's been like the last 6 years that he's been in this position. And I'm exaggerating, but felt like it's been a decade since we've seen Frank's 1 year away from being a year away. He's kind of like that Bruno Caboclo.
And they still got Dennis Smith Jr. on that roster. And God only knows what's happening to his career because it's went downhill so fast.
The Knicks have both of the point guard busts in the 2017 draft?
Yeah, 2017.
That's man. And here's my thing. I mean, really talking about Obi. Obi worries me. I don't know how much the Knicks will really develop him. From what I've seen, I talked about it pre-draft analysis. I thought that Obi would be a bust, and I'm kind of disappointed that the Knicks drafted him because I really want to see the Knicks get better, and I really do. I don't know why, but I'm like a low-key, I'm a Knicks fan.
Yeah, I agree with that because I feel bad because their fan base gets picked on so much, but like they always go into each offseason thinking they're getting a big name and they just don't do it. And truthfully, that's more of the whole owner situation, but that's a story for another time. I don't know. I want the Knicks to be good again. I like RJ Barrett, but not a good situation up there.
Yeah, that's a difficult situation, and we'll see what they do this year. They finished last year at 21-45. Again, same question to you. Do you see them getting to 20 wins?
No. It's weird because this is a 72-game season and we're not used to really basing it off this stuff, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But I don't think they will. I don't think. Nah, I'd say they won't. That's my final answer.
Well, that's good. It's not. Unfortunately, this is not Who Wants to Be a Millionaire, but I'm glad you gave your final answer.
I'm sending it in. This is my final answer.
All right, well, we'll get your answers on this. Let's move on to our next segment of Buy or Sell. Let's go first to the young star in New York, RJ Barrett.
I think a lot of us were surprised you didn't make first or second team. Did that bother you? And is that motivating for you?
Bothered me a lot. I'm not gonna lie. Bothered me a lot. I really don't understand why I wasn't on it, but it's motivation for next season. Just gotta, it's good to have an extra chip on my shoulder. Just prove myself even more.
That's RJ Barrett. Caleb, buy or sell? RJ Barrett will be in the Most Improved Player of the Year award talks this season.
Sell. And here's my reasoning. Like I said before, I like RJ Barrett, but I am very against second-year players winning that award or being in talks for that award because I feel like that second-year growth should happen regardless, if you know what I mean. Like, you should always improve from your year 1 to year 2 season, getting into, like, the rhythm of the NBA schedule and everything. I think he will improve, but I don't think he should be in the Most Improved Player talks.
I agree with the fact that you're saying players shouldn't really be in those talks. I think it. I will disagree on the fact that I think it has to do depending on the player, right?
Yeah.
So to
Well,
me,
if it's like a second round guy who barely gets any time and then second year just comes out of nowhere, that's different for me. But he was a third pick. You know what I mean? Like that growth should happen organically.
yeah, I agree with that. I mean, the fact that RJ has had struggles with being in New York and he hasn't had the best of his young career yet. We have yet to see the best of him. We have yet to see what a lot of us saw in Duke, and it hasn't really translated to the NBA. I'm excited for RJ. I will go with bye. I think he will be in the talks. I don't know if that'll be the right situation as far as should he be in the talks. Like you said, the whole rule of it, I kind of agree with you. I don't think he should be in the talks, but will he be? Yes, I'm going to buy that he will be. Let's go to Obi Toppin.
The moment I stepped into this facility, Kenny Payne's been preparing me for the games coming up. I feel like me being who I am, me wanting to grind, me wanting to always win. I just feel like I always put in the work to when conditioning timing comes up, it's like I'm automatically ready for it. And when I go out there, I try my best to have the highest score. And I always ask what the highest score is so that I can beat it. And we had a conditioning test, and I asked what the highest score was, and I had to beat it. So I believe I'm the highest person in the conditioning test. So
That's Obi Toppin pretty much just showing off the fact that anytime he does conditioning tests, he tries to ask what's the highest score. He asked what the highest score was, and he killed it. So, knowing that, he's a guy that likes to overachieve. Obi Toppin will be an NBA star in this league. Buy or sell?
Sell. But I mean, hey, that comment, that's a pretty cool comment to leave. I mean, I'm sure that made New York fans excited.
Why? Because he can run?
Because it's just a guy that likes to see what the standard is and then overdo it. I don't know. I don't think he's going to be a star. I wasn't high on him going into the draft. I didn't like the fit in New York because, again, they have so many power forwards, and I do not think he's a traditional small forward. We'll see how the fit is, but I don't think he'll be a star. Also, he has no neck. Have you noticed this?
His face is kind of goofy looking. Have you looked at
Bro, he doesn't have a neck. He'd be like 6'11" if he had a neck, I'm telling you.
Man, you need to relax about those necks.
Bro, he just don't got the neck to sling, if you know what I mean. But he's an all right player. I don't think he'll be a star. I'll sell.
I'm going to sell, but the reason why I'm selling is not the same reason as you. First of all, I want to go back to the conditioning comment. You talked about how Knicks fans are excited about that because that's overachieving.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's just a guy who likes to go hard.
I agree, but when you see that doesn't always translate to basketball, right? Like we've seen
No, it never does.
many stories of hard workers and the first one in, last one out, and these guys are. I mean, they're not always the best they're not the best of the guys on the team. So, given the fact that Obi said that's great and all, but to me, it's like basketball is not a game of conditioning. It's more of a game of talent, really, at the end of the day. It's how is your talent, how's your skill set fit in? It's how can you adjust to the NBA and have a niche? And to me, conditioning is not a niche. It's just being in shape. Like you're either in shape or you're not in shape. There's not really a difference to me. As far as game-wise, I don't see him being an NBA star. I think he's a really good athletic player. I think he can be one of the best dunkers in the league. However, as we've seen with a lot of players, dunking is not it, and it's not the only part of the game. I get it. Knicks fans are excited. You guys should be excited over having another young player. But I pray for Knicks fans this one works out. Unfortunately for them, I think this is another one like an RJ, like Obi, like Mitchell Robinson. These guys they have the talent. They're in the wrong franchise, and they're not the guy.
I agree.
Let's go to Mitchell Robinson talking about his new coach, Tom Thibodeau.
With Tom, he more of a defensive type style coach. We really don't do so much offensive stuff. Because I feel like from what I see, I believe he just you get stops. I mean, not to intend to stop don't turn the buckets for your team. So I mean, I feel like he mainly focused on the defensive end more than offense. But I mean, he's just more technical on the defense than that's just saying.
So that's Mitchell Robinson talking about his new coach, Tom Thibodeau, and about how his focus is mainly on defense. I mean, we know that from Tom Thibodeau. We've seen it before. Caleb, I'm asking you what you think on this one. You tell me. Buy or sell? Tom Thibodeau is the right coach for the New York Knicks.
Sell. I think Tibbs needs to go to a place where they're contenders. I don't think he's in the right situation on a rebuilding roster. I just think that's a bad fit for him and the team as well. He's not going to try to develop the players, you know what I mean, like the entire roster. He's just going to try to develop 7 players as if they're a playoff roster. It's not going to work. It's going to flop. I'm not a fan. I'm going to sell.
Before I give my answer, what team do you see Tom Thibodeau fitting on?
Not New York. I mean, I don't really see he has a place in the NBA anymore. I also didn't think Stan Van Gundy had a place in the NBA anymore, but he landed on New Orleans. So I don't know. But I don't think this is the right fit for him.
I think I agree with what you're saying. My question, the real reason why I asked that is because I don't think Tom Thibodeau fits in the NBA as far as a head coach anymore. I think he should go back to how he was with Doc as an assistant. And even in Philly, him with Doc Rivers would be a really good fit. Obviously, they have Dave Yeager now, so he's not going to go there at any point. And Tom Thibodeau's a head coach, so he's not leaving. I'm going to agree with you. I'm going to sell. I don't see him as a head coach like I mentioned. I don't know if Tom Thibodeau is really going to get along with that young core. And, again, the game has changed. The players have changed. The style has changed. The Jimmy Butlers of the league are few and far in between, right? And those are guys that are hard workers. They're old school. They get that. And that's kind of how Tom Thibodeau's game is. And I think Tom Thibodeau is a great coach. I think he once was one of the better coaches in the league, but I don't see him fitting in with today's NBA. And that's why I'm going to sell.